Horizon as me Sinai.
I start with the needle.
Yeah, start with that. It's really good.
Does it?
Oh, yeah, it's good for me. Okay, hold on a second. Let me open up my. Ya la 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 na 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 la 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 ya na 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 I la 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 I la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 I la 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 na 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 I la 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 I la 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 I la 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 I la 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 ya la 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 na na.
That's called a nigun. It's a wordless melody. And the purpose of the nigun is to stir the spirit, right? That we wake up. And I'm looking out here, and there's a lot of good-looking people here, but everyone looks a little tired. So the goal of the nigun, the four of you guys, very handsome. You look it's a little early out of bed for you. You're already starting your summers, kind of ready to sleep till like noon, right? But today, so we have a job to do, which is to stir your spirit, to kind of like bring out the best from your soul. That's the purpose of a nigun. And that's actually the purpose of prayer. Now, our prayer this morning is going to be largely in Hebrew. So if Hebrew is a language that you're not familiar with, that's fine. Just yai-dieting along for the entire morning is perfectly good. And just smiling, enjoying the company, enjoying community, enjoying the celebration of Nico and his family. So we're going to begin our service on page 103 with blessings of gratitude for God for the ability to engage the world. Please rise. Birchot HaShachar, page 103.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasach v'vina lehavchin ben yom uvein laila. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzalmo. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, sokef kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamechin mitzadei kaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asa li kol tzorki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ozer Yisrael bigvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, oter Yisrael betifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hanotein laya'ev koach. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ama v'shen amen, aynu mamei afapai v'ratzon tanach Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, v'tenu v'shtayim. Nenu hayom v'chol yom, l'chenu l'chesed l'rachamim b'einecha, ובעיני כל אלוהינו ותגמלנו חסדים טובים Baruch atah Adonai, gomel chasadim tovim li'amo Yisrael.
Amen. You can be seated. We continue on page 112.
Yom Yom Shabbat Kodesh, Shebo Ayu Aleviim Omrim Beveit HaMikdash, Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat, Tov Lodot L'Adonai L'Zamir L'Shim Chai Elyon L'Gid B'Boker Chesed. Lo Yasar V'Yalein Al V'Yalein Al V'Yalein עוד ינבוד בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי ישר אדוני, צורי ולא עוולת בו.
Page 120.
מזמור שיר חנוכת הבית לדוד. ארמים חרני כדי תתענית על השיחה, כבי בואי לי אדוני. סמר אדוני חסידה והודו לזכר קודשו גמר. אליך אדוני אקרא ואל אדוני אתחנן אליך אדוני אקרא ואל אדוני אתחנן שמע אדוני וכונני אדוני יהיה עוזר לי שמע אדוני וכונני אדוני יהיה עוזר לי הפכת מספדי למחולי פיתחת שקי ותזרני שמחה למען יזמרך כבוד ולא ידום Adonai Elohai leolam modeka.
We'll invite those of you who are in mourning or observing a yurtzeit to please rise. Mourners Kaddish, page 121. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba. Bi'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayachon v'yameyachon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit roman v'yit naseh v'yit hadar v'yit alev v'yit halal shemei dekudisha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran v'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Osei shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. And now we'll ask everyone to please rise. We're beginning Psuke de Zimra, which is a warm-up section, a section where we're going to kind of like shake our grumps out and we're going to get into the spirit of prayer. It begins on page 122.
Lai la 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 ai la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch she'amar ve'haya olam Baruch Baruch oseh bereshit Baruch omer ve'oseh Baruch ozer umkayem Baruch merachem al haaretz Baruch merachem al habriot Baruch meshalem sachar tov yireyav Baruch chai la'ad ve'kayam lanetzach Baruch kodeh umatzil Baruch shemo la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Yananai, yanai, nananai. Yananai, 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 yananai. La 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha'el v'rachaman hamulam v'yamom mishubach u'mfor'ar b'lshon chasidav v'yavadav v'shveidav. Yachid chai olami melech mishubach u'mfor'ar hadi et shemo hagadol. Baruch atah Adonai melech me'ulal batishbachot.
Amen. We can all be seated. Ashrei, page 136.
Ashrei yoshvei veitecha od yalelucha selah. Ashrei ha'am shekach lo Ashreim sh'Adonai Elohav tehila leDavid aramim chalo elamach baruch Hashem chali olam va'ed b'chol yom v'rachekav yalech. Tov Adonai lakol v'rachamav v'kol ma'asav yoducha Adonai kol ma'aseh chazid. Poteach en yadecha u'maspia l'chol chai ratzon tzadik Adonai b'chol derachav v'chassid b'chol ma'asav. Tehillat Adonai daber pi vivarech kol basar shem kodsho leolam va'ed va'anachnu nevarech ya me'ata v'ad olam hallelujah hallelujah halleli nafshi et Adonai hallelani b'chayai zamar le'Elohai be'odi al titulchu b'ni b'imana. Adonai shomer gerim yatom yimana yoded v'derech chashayim ye'aved yimloch Adonai leolam Elohai yichtzil ledor v'ador hallelujah.
Page 141.
Ya lai la lai 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 la lai ay nai 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 ya lai la lai lai ay nai 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 ay nai 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 ay lai la lai 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 la lai ya lai la lai lai ya la lai 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 ay la lai 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 la lai Hallelujah, hallelujah, El Bekodsho, hallelujah, Birkia Uzo, hallelujah, Bikurotav, hallelujah, Kerov Kudlo, hallelujah, Beteka Shofar, hallelujah, Benevel Vechinot, hallelujah, Betov Umachol, hallelujah, Beminim Ve'ugav, hallelujah, Betziltzele Shama, hallelujah, Betziltzele Trua, Kol Anshama Te'alelya, hallelujah, Kol Anshama Te'alelya, hallelujah, hallelujah, ay lai na nai 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 lai 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 Baruch Adonai le'olam amen ve'amen Baruch Adonai b'tzion shechem shalom hallelujah Baruch Adonai maloi Yisrael tzaddik uvaruch shem kvodo le'olam v'yimalech kvodo od kol haaretz amen ve'amen.
Page 145.
Nishmat kol chai tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu v'ruach kol basar tvarech. Ben anachnu maspikim lodot lach Adonai Eloheinu v'lo yivotenu levarech et shimcha. Mitzrayim galtan Adonai Eloheinu mi bein avadim b'ditanu b'rav zantan v'zovel galkontan. Mid melach u'mishvelach u'mi'aroch lach האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון קונה שמיים וארץ. נעלל חון שבך חון פורך ונברך את שם קודשך כאמור לדוד ברכי נפשי את אדוני וכל קרבי את שם קודשו.
Shochem Ad, the middle of page 147.
שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו וכתוב רננו צדיקים באדוני לישרים נבע תהילה בפי ישרים תתהלל ובדברי צדיקים תתברך ובלשון חסידים תתרומם ובקרב קדושים תתקדש ובמקהלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל. על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות דוד בן ישי עבדך משיחך.
We talked about that warm-up section called Psuke de Zimra. This is the conclusion of it, and then we're going to transition to Shacharit, which is our morning service. So we rise for this closing blessing at the top of page 148. Then we kind of like bookmark the end of the warm-up section with the Chatzi Kaddish, and we transition to Shacharit with the Baruch Hu, our call to prayer.
ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו אל המלך הגדול הקדוש בשמיים ובארץ. ברכות והודאות מעתה ועד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני אל מלך גדול בתשבחות אל ההודאות אדון הנפלאות הבוחר בשירי זמרה מלך מלכי העולמים יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה וילמד דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון ובחי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תאמירן ביעלמה ואמרו אמן.
The Baruch Hu, the bottom of page 149.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם יוצר אור ובורא חושך עושה שלום ובורא את הכל. הכל יודוך והכל ישבחוך והכל יאמרו קדוש.
We continue with El Adon, page 151.
אין קרקך ואין זולתך, אפס בלתך ומיתו מלך. אין קרקך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי העולם הבא. אפס בלתך גואלנו לימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים. Ya lai la lai lai, ya lai la lai lai, ai lai 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 lai, ya nai na nai nai, ya lai la lai lai, ai lai 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 lai. El Adon al kol hamaasim baruch umvorach befi kol neshama. God love it to Malay olam דעת ותבונה סובבים אותו, המתגאה על חיות הקודש, נדר בכבוד על המרכבה, זכות ומישור לפני חיסו, חסד ורחמים לפני כבודו, טובים מיורות שברא אלוהינו, יצרם בדעת בבינה ובשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נועזיבם בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים באימה רצון קונם, פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, תולה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרח אורה, והתקין צורת הלבנה, שבח נותנים לו, כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, סרפים ויופנים וחיות הקודש, ילאי ללאי ללאי, ילאי ללאי ללאי, נאי 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 נאי, ילאי ללאי ללאי, ינאי נאי נאי נאי, נאי ללאי 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 ללאי, ינאי נאי נאי נאי, ילאי ללאי ללאי, ילאי ללאי ללאי, ללאי ללאי ללאי, ילאי ללאי ללאי, ילאי ללאי ללאי, ילאי ללאי ללאי, לי 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 לי, לאל אשר שבת מכל המעשים. תתברך מושיענו על שבח מעשה ידיך ועל מאורי אור שעשית, יפארו חסלה.
Page 153.
תתברך צורנו, מלכנו וגואלנו, בורא קדושים. ישתבח שמך לעולם מלכנו יותר משל. ומברכים ומשבחים ומפארים ומריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול הגיבור והנורא הקדוש הוא וכולם. להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח, בשפה ברורה ונימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו, והאופנים וחיות הקודש ברעש גדול מן השאים לעומת שרפים, לעומתם משבחים ואומרים ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, לאל ברוך נעימות ייתנו למלך וקיים זמות. אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
Amen. We gather at seat in preparation for the Shema as we continue with Ahava Rabbah, page 154.
אהבה רבה אהבתנו אדוני אלוהינו חמלה ורמת עלינו. והביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו קוממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקירבתנו לשמך הגדול סלע באמת להודות לך וליחדך באהבה ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בעמו ישראל באהבה שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך והיה.
We continue silently through till the bottom of page 156.
אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. יציב נכון וקיים בשלום. לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וחיסון נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. אמת שאתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו מלכנו אבותינו גואלנו גואל אבותינו ואמותינו יוצרנו צור ישועתנו פודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך עזרת אבותינו ואמותינו אתה הוא מעולם מגן ומושיע לבני המחר אשר איש איש מלמצוותך ותורתך
We're in the middle of page 158. This is a song, Micha Mocha. It's a song of praise of God. What we do is we recognize God's redemptive powers. That's a way of saying that we recognize what happened at the nadir of our biblical history, which of course was our enslavement in Egypt. And we look at that and God's capacity to bring us to freedom. And then what we do is after looking at that prayer, we then transition to the Amidah with very much the thought in mind of, okay, if God was a source of redemption and we're supposed to imitate God in our lives, how can we be sources of redemption in our own lives? How can we bring redemption to other people in this world? With that, we continue in the middle of page 158, transitioning to the Micha Mocha.
Tilo le'el elyon, Baruch hu umvorach, Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael anu shira, Besimcha rabah v'yamru chulam. Ya lai la lai lai ya lai la lai ya lai la lai la lai 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 la lai lai ya lai la lai 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 ya lai la lai 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 ya lai la lai lai ya la lai 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 ai la lai 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 Mocha bo'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Torah tehilot osei pele, Shira chadasha, shibechu geulim, Leshimecha al svat hayam, Yachad kulam hodu ve'imlichu, Ve'yameru Adonai Imlo Le'olam va'ed Ya lai la lai lai ya lai la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai ya lai la lai lai ya lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 la lai 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 Tzur Yisrael Kuma b'Ezrat Yisrael Uftechinu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael Go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
The Amidah, which again is the prayer that gives us an opportunity to think in our own way, how we can serve as instruments of redemption, how we can serve as sources of love and goodness in the world. We begin the Amidah together as a community, and then we continue silently. The Amidah can be found beginning on page 159. Page 159 in these red books.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Agadol, Agibor ve'Anora, El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Akol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Goel Ibnei V'neihem, Le'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Foked U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ufoked Sarah, Ata gibor leolam Adonai, Mechayim etim Ata Rav lehoshia, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayim etim berachamim rabim, Samech noflim, Merofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar. Mi chamocha ba'al gevurot, Umi domelach, Melech meimit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lechayot meitim, Baruch Ata Adonai Mechaye Hameitim.
Page 161.
Nekadesh et Shimcha Ba'olam Keshem Shemakdishim Oto Bishmei Marom Kakatuv Ayad Neviecha V'karazeh El Zeh V'yamar Kadosh 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 Adonai Tzivaot Meloch ol haaretz kivodo Az bekol erash gadol Adir v'chazak mashbi'im ko Minaseim leumat serafim Leumatam baruch yomeru Baruch kevod Adonai mi'mekomo Mimkom chamalkeinu tofia, v'timloch aleinu ki mechakim anachnu lach. Matai timloch b'tzion, bekarov biyameinu, leolam va'ed tishkon, titkadav v'titkadash, betoch Yerushalayim ircha, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים ועינינו תראנה מלכותך כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך על ידי דוד Meshiach tzidkecha yimloch Adonai leolam Elohayich Tzion ledor vador Hallelujah ledor vador nagid godlecha ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipi lo yamush leolam va'ed ki al melech kadosh v'kadosh ata Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh Yizmach Moshe b'manot chelko given.
When you've completed your Amidah, you can be seated.
Yitkara v'yitkara shemei rabba v'yama divrach yirutevim lichmo g'dei b'chayachonu v'yimechonu v'chay d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kari v'imeru Amen. Yesh me rabba mevorach, li'olam li'omei omaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, vishtabach, vipor, vitrum amina, sevitadar, vitala, vitalal, shmei kudisha, brichu li'ela, min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiram b'yam avimeru, Amen. Titkabel tzloton uvalton d'chol Yisrael kodam avohani v'shmaya v'imeru, Amen. Yesh lama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'imeru, Amen. Ose shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'kol yoshvei tevel v'imeru, Amen.
Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom. It's okay, Rosie. Nice to see you. Shabbat shalom. We're happy to have everyone here. Shabbat shalom. My name is Brian Schuldenfrei, and I'm one of the rabbis here at Adat Ariel. And we'd like to welcome you. I understand that we have people from sort of all over are with us today. Anyone get on a plane to be here with us today? Where are you from? Seattle. It's still raining, I think. This is me. Yeah, wait till you come to the valley in about, you know about the whole, it's pretty hot. Okay. All right, anyone else get on the plane to be here today? Okay, great. Well, welcome from Seattle and the millions of people online. Welcome to you as well. Shabbat shalom. It's nice to have you. It's a really great, Shabbat is the Jewish way of marking a pause in our lives. Many of us complain that we're overscheduled, that we're overtasked, that we're overburdened. And programmed into the Jewish DNA is a pause, recognizing that when you're running like this all of the time, you're going to burn out. And so once a week, we as Jews, we hit the pause. The ironic thing is that according to Jewish philosophy, the pause is not for the rest of the week. In other words, Shabbat is not in service of the rest of the week. Rather, the rest of the week is in service of Shabbat. So it's this time that's the centerpiece of the week, not the time that we're running around like crazy people. So what we'd like to encourage you to do is to try and figure a way that you can make these 24 hours a highlight of your week. How can you embrace people? How can you embrace yourself? How can you rediscover that spark that God placed in your souls? And we believe that everyone has that spark. So how can we do that? That's what we're here to do in part, and that's what Shabbat is all about. So we'd like to welcome you here to congregation, to Adat Ariel. And is anyone here at a synagogue for the very first time in their lives? Anyone who's never... Wow, this is the first time you've ever been in a synagogue. There's a lot of Hebrew. But I can see your smiles through your masks, and it's totally fine. And basically what we're talking about is connecting with who we are and who we aspire to be. And as long as you keep smiling, you're doing exactly what the prayers want. Anyone talking about celebrations, did anyone celebrate a graduation this past week? Anyone graduate from school? Where did you graduate from? Milliken. Okay, so wait, you're going to ninth grade, so you're moving up ceremony the other. Great, okay, congratulations. Moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment. No, that's a different thing. Okay. So anyway, welcome and congratulations on going to high school. We still make a right when we we go to the middle school. But anyway, it's good to have you here. Anyone else graduate? Where do you guys graduate from? Sierra Canyon. Okay, good. And so you're going into 7th grade. You're going to the middle school now. Awesome. Who else graduated? Where did you graduate from? From Herschko. And where are you going next year? D. Toledo. We got a little D. Toledo Milken rivalry going on here. That's awesome. They don't play football because it's 2 Jewish schools. So anyway, that probably will get me in trouble, that comment. Okay, anyone else graduate? Harrison and Aaron. Where you guys graduate from? From VBS Day School in Mazel Tov, and both Harrison and Aaron are going to be going to Milken in the fall. Okay, anyone else? Okay, well, mazel tov to all the graduates. And then how many of you are headed to camp this year? How many of you are going on to camp this summer? You're not sure. They may stick you on the bus. It's undetermined. Depends on how you behave today. What? Yeah, like you sleep at and no sleepaway camp. How many are going to day camp this summer? Day camp? Okay. Day camp, where you guys go to day camp? Sierra Canyon? Sierra Canyon. Oh, you go to sleepaway camp. That's right. You go to Hilltop, right? Don't you go to Hilltop? No. Okay. Where are you going to camp? Behind you. Wait, your name is Lucas. We met before, Lucas. Where are you guys going to camp? Great. And where are you going to camp behind Lucas? Sleepaway camp in Wisconsin. You know the name? Okay, what's that called? Oh, Herschko. That's a wonderful camp. That's great. And where are you going? Camp Alanim. I've heard of that one before. Yeah, that's a good camp. I like that one. Okay, good. Well, we are so happy that so many of you are doing fun things this summer. I want all of our younger folks here to think of the summer as like a great big Shabbat, right? Like the summer is like a great big Shabbat. And if you have that framework, then your summer is going to be filled with blessings. So wherever the summer takes you, we wish you well. And to moms and dads, we also hope that you have chances to rest, and grandmas and grandpas, and everyone here has an opportunity to rest and to celebrate their souls over this summer. Speaking of celebration, we are now going to invite mom and dad up to begin our celebration of Nico's bar mitzvah. Yeah, we can do a little woohoo. And mom and dad, we're going to take out the Torah next. And before we take out the Torah and read from the Torah, we read we need you too, Nico. You're kind of important to the day. Okay, so mom and dad, Nico, before you're called to the Torah, before your official bar mitzvah, this is throughout your life, you should receive words of blessing. And so today you have the opportunity to receive a blessing from mom and dad celebrating your bar mitzvah. Unless you want to use this.
No, I'm good. Okay. I see you, Nico. I see the little boy who wants to embrace life to the fullest. I see the young man who is ready to confront his fears. I see my little man and his desire to pursue what he loves. What I see most is that you deserve every opportunity in life, and we are here for you by any means necessary. May you always remember this extraordinary day, and may it be a stepping stone for you in anything and everything you want to achieve. We see you and we love you.
Amen. Quick word, I had to remind myself, Nico, a handful of times over the last couple days that this is a quick blessing and not a speech. And I know that my friends are happy that I know that. Rabbi's happy about that too. Rabbi, it was my wife who said, stick to the script for once in your life. So that's why I've got it here.
But you make game shows, so that's not going to happen, is it? No.
But really quickly, what I wanted to do was give you just a quick, meaningful blessing and really think about something that I said last night when I gave you that talit, and I see you wearing that talis, and it reminds me of the little boy that I once had, and it reminds me of the awesome young man that you've become. And now seeing you on this bima, I'm reminded of things that you've overcome, things you've faced head on, the life experiences that you've handled, absolutely impressively, especially of late in the crazy world we've been living in. And I'd be remiss not to quickly mention your great-grandparents, my 4 grandparents, all of whom are survivors, and all of whom, I can't imagine a world where they're not looking down on you today and giving you their own blessings. And I also want to look forward for a quick second and embrace what's yet to come for you. the culmination of your bar mitzvah studies, including, Cantor, what I think is one of the longest haftorahs that we have all year. It's amazing to see you embrace that. And it reminds me of the future that you're going to have and the beginning of this Jewish journey. You know, the bar mitzvah is not, all right, we did it, it's over, but rather it's the beginning. And I can't wait to see you embrace that beginning. And your mom and I see great things for you, and we wish you the most amazing path to love, success, and happiness. We know you'll embrace it, and when you don't, we'll be here to remind you. We love you very much, and we ask Hashem to watch over you. Mazel tov.
And with those blessings in our heart, Nico, we are ready now for the Torah service. The Torah service begins with Ein Kamocha on page 168. Ein Kamocha, page 168. And we'll invite Tibor and Susan and Ray and Margaret to please come up for the Torah passing as Jaxie will open the Ark.
Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, v'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch, Leolam voed, Adonai yos li'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, avarachamim, heitiv avirtzonecha et Zion, tivneh Chomot Yerushalayim, Tivneh Chomot Yerushalayim, Kivecha levad batachnu, Melech Elam v'nisa Adon olam.
Please rise as the Ark is opened.
Thank you so much. Vayehi bin so Aharon, vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, veyafutzu oivecha, veyanusu misanecha mipanecha, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah. Udevar Adonai mi Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato.
Come here, Jackson.
Please continue to page 170. Good luck, Nico.
Veyana rachet, velishme kadisha, kadisha yakira, Ana emar tushbechan, beyana rachet, beyana rachet, velishme kadisha, kadisha yakira, ana emar tushbechan, Yehi rava kodamach, v'tiftach libi b'oraita, v'tashli mishalin delibi, v'liba decholamach, Yisrael, letavu lechayin, v'lishlam. Amen.
Nico, in our tefillah and our prayers, we often say Ledor Vador, from generation to generation. And that is certainly true today. Ledor Vador, from generation to generation. From the long, long history of your parents with our Torah on your father's side, and your mom's loving embrace of our tradition in recent years, you come to this day, Nico. You come to this day with love and blessing. And our hope for you is to continue doing what you are doing now. L'macha zikim ba, to hold fast to the Torah, not the actual literal Torah, but actually the Torah of our values and the Torah of our heart. And what we want you to do is, as you witness the Torah, all the goodness being passed Ledor Vador from generation to generation, our hope is that as you continue to live your life, you'll always remember this moment, surrounded by family and friends, and that you will know that you are part of a grand story that has prepared you to make your life a blessing. And may you continue to be a blessing. And let us all say, Amen. Yeah, you did perfectly.
Page 171. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Gadlu l'Adonai iti, uneram ema shemo yachrav. Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'agevura ve'atiferet ve'anetzach ve'ahod. Ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz, Ki chol b'shamayim u'ba'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha v'yamid na'aseh lechol rosh romimu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishtachavu Lehadom raglav kadoshu romimu Adonai Eloheinu ve'hishtachavu Lehar kodsho, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Oh, ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Oh, romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Yisrael kudsha berichu ve'yoraita chadhu. Yisrael kudsha berichu ve'oraita chadhu. Torah ora, hallelujah, hallelujah. Torah ora, hallelujah.
Shabbat Shalom, we can all be seated. We can all be seated. This morning, we are reading from the Torah. As Jews, we read the 5 books of Moses consecutively. So there are 5 books. Genesis, which talks about the beginning of the world and the beginning of the first Jewish family. Then we talk about Exodus, which is how we became a people. And there were 2 events that made us a people: redemption from slavery and also receiving the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai. That's the 2nd book. The 3rd book, Leviticus, answers the question of how to be holy. The 4th book, which we're in this morning, is Bamidbar, and it's a question of, it literally means in the wilderness, and it's a question of how we build society. The 5th book, the 5th and final book, which we'll be reading a little bit towards the summer, is a book called Deuteronomy, which is Moses' farewell address before the Israelite people return home into the promised land, and Moses passes on. Those are the 5 books, a very quick summary. We're in the 4th again of those 5 books, the book of Bamidbar. We're in the 2nd Torah portion, Torah portion of that book, which is Parshat Nasso. Now, someone alluded to it. This is a little trivia, Nico. This is the longest Torah portion in the whole 5 books. That's one side of the news. The good thing is that we're not reading all of it this morning. So anyway, but what it does contain is it continues with a census of the people, showing that everyone counts. It also deals with people who are living on the peripheries of society, people for whatever reason, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of those people later on. And then also embedded in the midst of the text is Birkat Kohanim, the famous priestly prayer that we as Jews still give to our children every Shabbat, and that many religions often use as a model of prayer even today. So that is a little bit about Parshat Nasso, our Torah portion today. And with that in mind, we'll begin our reading.
Did he say page 805? Did he say page 805? Did he say that? If not,
No.
you say it.
The reading will begin on page 805, chapter 7, verse 1.
ויעזור וינגב ישילחו לחוסים בו ונאמר אמן הכל אבוקות אל אלוהינו תנו כבוד לתורה יעמוד. זאב בן אנשול ראשון ברוך שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayehi beyom kalot Moshe lehakim et hamishkan. Vayamashach oto v'yakadesh oto v'yet kol kelav v'yet hamizbeach v'yet kol kelav vayimshachem v'yakadesh otam. Vayakrivu nisiei ha-Yisrael, Roshei Beit Avotam, Heim nisiei hamatot, Heim haomdim al hapikudim, Vayaviu et korbanam lifnei Adonai, Shesh eglotzav u'shnei asar bakar, Agala al shnei hanesiim b'shor la'echad, Vayakrivu otam lifnei hamishkan, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, Kach meitam, Vehayu la'avod et avodat ohel moed, Venatata otam el haleviim, ish kefi avodato, Vayikach Moshe et hagalot ve'et habakar, Vayitein otam el haleviim, et Shtei hagalot ve'et arba'at habakar natan livnei Gershon kefi avodatam ve'et arba'a hagalot ve'et shmonat habakar natan livnei Merari kefi avodatam bi'ad Itamar ben Aaron hakohen ve'livnei kehat lo natan ki avodat hakodesh alehem bakateh yisa'u Vayakrivu hanesiim et Chanukat hamizbeach beyom himashach oto Vayakrivu hanesiim et korbanam lifnei hamizbeach Vayomer Adonai el Moshe Nasi echad layom Nasi echad layom Yakrivu et korbanam lachanukat hamizbeach.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam. Natav b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen.
The reading continues, page 806, verse 12.
It's not that hard. Ya'amod Yehuda ben Levan v'Sara Sheni.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen. Vayehi hamakriv Vayom harishon et korbano Nachshon ben Aminadav lemate Yehuda V'korbano karat kesef achat Shloshim u'me'a mishkala Mizrak echad kesef shivim shekel b'shekel hakodesh Shnehem meleim sol lepula b'shemen lemincha Kaf achat asara zahav melea ketoret Par echad ben bakar Ayil echad keves echad ben shnato leolah Seir izim echad lechatat Ulezebach shlamim, bakar shnayim, elim chamisha, atudim chamisha, kevasim b'nei shana chamisha, ze korban nachshon ben Aminadav, bayom hasheni, hikriv Netanel ben Suar, nasi Yisachar, hikriv et korbano, karat kesef achad, shloshim umeya, mishkala, mizrak echad kesef, shivim shekel beshekel hakodesh, shnehem meleim, sol et b'lulav Hashem en lemincha, kaf achad, asara zahav, melea ketoret, par echad ben bakar, ayil echad, keves echad ben shnato leolah, seir izim echad lechatat, ulezebach hashlamim, bakar shnayim, elim chamisha, atudim chamisha, kevasim b'nei shana chamisha, ze korban Netanel ben Suar.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lana Torat emet v'chayei olam natav v'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We want to wish a Yesha Koach to, hold on for a second. We want to wish a Yesha Koach to Bennett Spiegel for reading Torah for us. And I know he's got a few more aliyot, so he's going back to the bullpen for a little bit, but we want to wish him well. Now, at this point, Nico is actually going to read from the Torah, and it's going to be very impressive. It's actually not it's not the liminal moment. It's not the bar mitzvah moment. That happens, and we'll make a big fuss out of it. That happens when he makes the brachot, or the blessings over the Torah. So children are actually, he's still a child in the eyes of Jewish law until he gets called to the Torah. But right now he's going to read from the Torah, and that's very special. So of course, in order to make sure that mom and dad get to witness that firsthand, I think they are our next aliyah.
The reading continues, page 807, verse 24.
Ya'amdu Chaya bat Avraham v'Sara uBinyamin ben Chaim v'Rachel aliyah hashlishi. Yeah, hold on a second. I want to have it open to both columns. You're going to take this point so that your parent, hold on, you hold the yod. Okay, now I'm going to get out of the way. Point so that your parents know where to touch. No, Bayom Hashlishi.
Baruch et Adonai HaMavorach.
Baruch Adonai Haborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMavorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Bayom hashlishi nasi livnei Zebulun Eliav ben Helon korbano ka'ar kesef ehad shloshim ume'ah mishkala mizrak ehad kesef shivim shekel beshekel hakodesh Shenehem meleim so let belulav Hashem and leminha kaf ahat asara zahav melea ketoret par ehad ben bakar ayil echad keves echad ben shanato leolah set your easy mehad lehatat ulezeva Hashlamim, Bakar Shenaim, Elim, Hamisha, Atudid, Hamisha, Kevesim B'nei Shana, Hamisha, Zeh, Korban Eliav, Ben Helon, Bayom Harvi'i Nasi Livnei Reuven Elitzor Ben Shedeor Korbano Ka'aret Kesef Ehat Shloshim Ume'a Mishkala Mizrach Ehad Kesef Shivim Shekel Beshekel HaKodesh Shenehem Mele'im Solet Belulav Hashem and Leminha Kaf Ahad Asara Zahav Melea Ketoret Par Ehad Ben Bakar Ayil Ehad Keves Ehad Ben Shanato Leola Seir Izim Ehad Lehatat Ula Zeva Hashlamim Bakar Shenaim Elim Hamisha Atudid Hamisha Kevesim B'nei Shana Hamisha Zeh Korban Elitzor Ben Shedeor.
Take your towel, touch over where he finished. Just put your hand back. Finished?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah temet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Kavah.
The reading continues, page 809, verse 36.
Show the next reading where you finished.
808, verse 36.
Or etiquette. Okay, so show him where you finished. And now he knows, and now he can give him the yod. Don't do anything yet, sir. You call this lovely person, what's your name in Hebrew? Aharon Shemesh. And your parents' names? What are they in English? Can we call her Ruth? Rivka, okay. Ta'amod Aharon Shemesh bat Bert v'Rivka Aliyah Revi'it. Are we on the fourth Aliyah? I think so. Yeah. Did you give the verse? I did. Okay. Okay, touch words. Okay.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam
Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu michol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Bayom HaChamishi Nasi Livnei Shimon Shlumiel Ben Tzuri Shaddai Korbano Karat Kesef Achad Shloshim Ume'ad Mishkala Mizrach Echad Kesef Shivim Shekel Beshekel HaKodesh Shnehem Mele'im Solet Belulav Bashem and Lemincha Kaf Achad Asara Zahav Melea Ketoret Par Achad Ben Bakar Ayil Echad Keves Echad Ben Shnato Leola Seir Izim Echad Lechatat Uzavach Hamishim Uzavach Hashlamim Bakar Shnaim Elim Chamisha Tudim Chamisha Kevasim B'nei Shana Chamisha Zeh Korban Shlumiel Ben Tzuri Shaddai Bayom Hashishi Nasi Livnei Gad Elyasav Ben Deuel Korbano Karat Kesef Achad Shloshim Ume'ad Mishkala Mizrach Echad Kesef Shivim Shekel Beshekel HaKodesh Shnehem Mele'im Solet Belulav Hashem and Lemincha Kaf Achad Asara Zahav Melea Ketoret Par Achad Ben Bakar Ayil Echad Keves Echad Ben Shnato Leola Seir Izim Echad Lechatat Uzavach Hashlamim Bakar Shnaim Elim Chamisha Etudim Chamisha Kevasim B'nei Shana Chamisha Zeh Korban Elyasaf Ben Deuel.
Take your tablet and touch what he's prompting.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet Behayai Olam Nata Betohenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
So this picture is exactly what, Ben, what you were reading. This is the hope. See, Ben is reading about the consecration of the tabernacle. That means like the space that the Israelites, you guys saw Raiders of the Lost Ark? You remember that? You remember that thing that they were schlepping around? Part of that was the ark, and then there was like a whole structure around it. It was called the tabernacle. And what they did was they needed, when they were finally done building it, they had a big celebration. And their hope was that that would be the centerpiece for a Jewish community. And I imagine that that intent that they had was the picture that we have before us. Let me explain. Nico, here you stand after reading Torah on your bar mitzvah before your dad and the heritage of his grandparents, your great-grandparents who are survivors, with your mom who's chosen to embrace Judaism with love in her heart. Standing next to the Jaffes, Andrea, who's dedicated her professional life to the service of the Jewish people, and Ben, who was celebrating the 3rd anniversary of his bar mitzvah. This is what everyone had in mind, the centerpiece of Jewish community around Torah. What a very special vision this is, surrounded by us all. So we want to thank Ben for joining us on the 3rd anniversary of his bar mitzvah. As the cantor pointed out to your mom, your voice is just a little bit different than it was. But the soul that gives voice, that the voice gives voice to, is very clearly the same. And as you're growing into a young man, the goodness that was in your heart as a boy that your mom talks about a lot at the office, that is still very clearly present in the life that you are living now. So it is our pleasure to welcome you back in front of the Torah to chant the words that you chanted on your bar mitzvah 3 years ago. And my only hope is that next year, Ben, you're joined by Nico, and then we'll add another person on this bima who will celebrate their bar or bat mitzvah. Keni Ratzon, may it be God's will. And let us all say, Amen.
Okay, you can stand over there. The reading continues, page 809, verse 48.
Ya'amod Mordechai ben Chaim v'Rachel Chamishi.
Baruch Hu es Adonai Baruch. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'na'asan lanu es Toratzah. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. Amen. Bayom hashvi'i nasi livnei aparim. Ali Shama ben Amihud, Korbanot, Kara Kesef Achad, Shloshim Ume'at, Mishkala, Mizrach, Echad, Kesef, Shivim Shekel, Beshekel, HaKodesh, Shnehem Mele'im, Solet, Belulav Hashem, and Lamicha, Kaf Achad, Asara Zahav, Mela'ah Ketoret, Par Achad ben Bakar, Ayil Echad, Keves Echad ben Shnato, Le'olah, Seir Izim Echad Lechatat, Uzavach Hashlamim, Bakar Shnayim, Elim, Chamisha, Atudim, Chamisha, Kevasim B'nei Shana, Chamisha, Zeh, Korban Eliasaf ben Amihud, Bayom Hashmini, Nasi Livnei, Menashe, Gamliel ben Padatzur, Korbano, Kara Kesef Achad, Shloshim Ume'ad, Mishkala, Mizrach, Echad, Kesef, Shivim Shekel, Beshekel, HaKodesh, Shnehem Mele'im, Solet, Belulav Hashem, and Lamicha, כף אחד עשרה זהב מלאה כתורת, פר אחד בן בקר, עיל אחד, כבש אחד בן שנתו לעולה, שעיר עזים אחד לחטאת, ולזבח השלמים, בקר שניים, אלים, חמישה, עתודים, חמישה, כבשים בני שנה, חמישה, זה קורבן גמליאל בן פדצור.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי העולם נטע בתוכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
The reading continues, page 809, verse 60.
יעמדו חיים בן מאיר ופרימה ורחל בת שמואל ושרה לעלייה השישית.
ברכו את אדוני הבתורה. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו אל תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. ביום התשיעי נשיא לבני בנימין אבידן בן גדעוני קורבנו קרא כסף אחד 30 ומעט משקלה מזרח אחד כסף 70 שקל בשקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת בלולב השמן למנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת, פר אחד בן בקר, עיל אחד, כבש אחד בן שנתו לעולה, שעיר עזים אחד לחטאת, ולזבח השלמים, בקר שניים, אלים, חמישה, עתודים, חמישה, כבשים בני שנה, חמישה, זה קורבן אבידן בן גדעוני, ביום העשירי נשיא לבני דן אחיעזר בן עמישדי קורבנו קרא כסף אחד 30 ומעט משקלה מזרח אחד כסף 70 שקל בשקל הקודש שניהם מלאים סולת בלולב השמן למנחה כף אחת 10 זהב מלאה כתורת פר אחד בן בקר עיל אחד, כבש אחד בן שנתו לעולה, שעיר עזים אחד לחטאת, ולזבח השלמים בקר שניים, אלים חמישה, עתודים חמישה, כבשים בני שנה חמישה, זה קורבן אחיעזר בן עמישדי.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורה אמת וחיי עולם נתן בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
The reading continues, page 810, verse 78. Thanks very much.
יעמדו אלון בן עודד ובלהה ושושנה בת מרדכי ולאה לעלייה השביעית.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. ביום 12 יום נשיא לבני אשר פגיאל בן אוחרן Korbano karat kesef achad, shloshim umeya mishkala, mizrak echad kesef, shivim shekel b'shekel hakodesh, shnehem meleim, solet lula b'shemen lemincha, kaf achat asara zahav melea ketoret, par echad ben bakar, ayil echad keves echad ben shnato leolah, seir izim echad lechatat, ulezebach hashlamim, bakar shnayim, elim chamisha, tudim chamisha, kevasim b'nei shana chamisha, ze korban pagiel ben ochran, Bayom shnei masar yom, nasi livnei naftali, achira ben einan, korbano kerat kesef achad, shloshim umeya mishkala, mizrak echad kesef, shivim shekel b'shekel hakodesh, shnehem meleim, solet b'lula b'shemen lemincha, kaf achat, asara zahav melea ketoret, par echad ben bakar, ayil echad keves echad ben shnato leolah, seir izim echad lechatat, ulezebach hashlamim, bakar shnayim, elim chamisha, atudim chamisha, kevasim b'nei shana chamisha, ze korban achira ben einan. Zot Chanukat HaMizbeach beyom himashach oto me'et Nesi'ei Yisrael karat kesef shneim esrei mizrakei chesef shneim asar kapot zahav shneim esrei shloshim umeya ha'ke'ara ha'echad kesef v'shivim hamizrak ha'echad kol kesef ha'kelim alpayim ve'arba me'ot b'shekel hakodesh kapot zahav shneim esrei meleot ketoret asara hakaf b'shekel hakodesh kol zahav hakapot esrim umeya kol habakar la'olah shneim asar parim elim shneim asar kevasim b'nei shana shneim asar uminchatam usirei izim shneim asar lechatat v'chol bekar zevach hashlamim Esrim be'arba parim elim shishim atudim shishim kvasim b'nei shana shishim zot chanukat hamizbeach acharei himashach oto ubevo Moshe el ohel moed l'daber ito vayishma et hakol midaber elav me'al hakaporet asher al aron ha'edut mibein shnei hakruvim vayadaber elav.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. You guys can stand over.
Sure. One more to go.
One more. Can I switch places with you for a second? Thank you. This is sort of like the seventh inning stretch of the Torah reading. We'll invite the congregation to please rise for Reader's Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah v'yamad yivrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael bagala uv'yizman kariv ve'yimeru amen Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach li'olam u'li'omei omaya yitbarach Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, Ve'yitadar, ve'yitale, ve'yitalal, Shemei de Kudesha, Richu li'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Tamiran bi'alma, ve'imiru, Amen.
We can all be seated.
Yeah.
Thank you. With the Schwartzes. You guys stayed over there. That's right. Thank you. The Maftir reading can be found on page 811, beginning with verse 87. So that's sort of two-thirds, halfway down the page, verse 87. It is now my pleasure to call Nico Herschko to the Torah in front of his family, friends, and community in celebration of his bar mitzvah.
Yahamad, 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 Habachur, Dov Shmuel, Ben Binyamin Vechaya, Bar HaMitzvah, Maftir.
Do the blessings. Bennett's going to show you where, and then you'll give it a touch.
Yeah, I'll show you
where the spot is.
right there.
Yes. Hold on to the handles. Make him move over just a little bit. There you go. Okay, yes.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher baharbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Kol abakar le'olah shneim asar parim. Elim shneim asar kebasim bnei shana shneim asar uminchatam usirei izim shneim asar lechatat vechol bekar zebach hashlamim esrim be'arba'a parim elim shishim atudim shishim kebasim bnei shana shishim zot chanukat hamizbeach אחרי המשך אותו, ובבוא משה אל אוהל מועד לדבר איתו, וישמע את הקול מדבר אליו, מעל הכפורת אשר על ארון העדות, מבין שני הקרובים, וידבר אליו.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata betoheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Shakoah.
Mazel tov.
Amdu Hamagbia v'Hagolel.
Please rise for the lifting and wrapping of the Sefer Torah.
Sit down. Go sit down.
Vezot HaTorah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Eitz chaim ilam achazikim ba v'tomchei ha'meushar. Eitz chaim ilam achazikim ba v'tomchei ha'meushar. Derachei darchei Noam v'chol netivotei shalom. Derachei darchei Noam v'chol netivotei shalom. Lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, Ay, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Ay, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה ותומכי המאושר.
We can all be seated. Yeah. See, here, hold on, let me shut this up. Come over here, stand there with me. Hold that up, Jackson. I do like the green ones. So, Jaxie is showing what you're going to be throwing in just a few minutes, okay? And don't eat it now. That's like the park it in the pocket. There you go. So the reason that we're parking the candy in the pocket or in the seed pocket in front of us is Nico has like a very long Haftarah to read. It's like ridiculously long. And he's been practicing for a year. So he's kind of hoping not to be disturbed by the sound of crinkle, crinkle, crinkle candy as he's reading the thing that he's practiced for one whole year. So put those candies down. But before you do, oh, you dropped it. Huh. Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. That's actually not Jewish law, by the way. Jewish law says just the opposite, that finders, not keepers. Finders, actually, the imperative is to return. That's Jewish law. Why do we throw candy? Why do you guys think we throw candy? Why do you think, go ahead.
To hurt Nico.
Some of us up here on the Bima missed that. What did he say?
He said to make Nico feel really good about his accomplishments. That's what he said, and I quote that directly. And that's exactly right.
Thank you so much.
It's to make Nico feel really good, to shower him with sweetness. It's not to peg him in the eye, it's to shower him with sweetness. Because today is a day filled with sweetness. You and I have an appointment first thing Monday morning, too. And we have good reason to be joyful. We have a lot of blessings. A lot of us, we talked about our summer plans. We talked about the blessings that we're feeling in our lives. We're feeling, some of us, for the first time, we feel a little bit more confident, maybe going out, maybe doing a little traveling. So we have reason to smile, but we're also acutely aware of all of the struggles in the world around us, that there are people who are living without, there are people who are injured in body and injured in spirit, there are people, thousands of people, tens of thousands of people who walk our streets every day without a place to call home. There are people, Jewish people, who are on the run from Russian aggression. There are people who are victimized by racism, by homophobia. There are a lot of people experiencing a lot of pain. And so we, as Jews, believe that when we feel celebration, it's incumbent upon us to recognize that, but also for it to fuel our action. And that's why we make the next prayer. The next prayer is a prayer of healing. And what we do is we make this prayer, at least I believe, with the intent that it should motivate us to do something about the pain that we are witnessing. So with that in mind, if you know of someone who's experiencing pain, or you know of people who are in pain in need of healing, please rise. And when I come to you, when I look in your direction, nice and loudly, please share the name of the people for whom you're praying so we can all pray on their behalf.
Mi sheberach avo מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Misha Berach Avotenu V'Imotenu, may God of our ancestors who has granted us so much on this Shabbat, may we think and be motivated to bring healing to the following people in our community.
Vora bat bracha, Lida bat bracha, Shmuela bat bernice.
Misha Berach Avotenu V'Imotenu, may God, who has blessed our ancestors, bless us, this community, with the strength to bring healing to people who are in need of hope, who are in need of love, and who are in need of care. And let us all say, Amen.
Misha Berach Imotenu, Mikor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
In just a moment, we're going to have the opportunity to hear Nico chant his Haftarah. And the Haftarah can be found on page 813. 813. And the story tells of the birth of Samson. And we'll talk a little bit more about him in just a moment, I'm sure, when we hear from Nico. So, Nico, please, before chanting the Haftarah, will give us words of introduction to this important selection from the Bible.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you for coming to my bar mitzvah. I've been looking forward to this day for a while. So, I found my Haftorah really interesting. It's the origin story of Samson, a tragic hero whose purpose is to save Israel from the Philistines. In Judges chapter 13, we learn about how Samson was born when an angel appears to his parents and magically promises them a baby, but there are conditions. The wife can't drink alcohol or eat unkosher foods, and the baby has to be raised as a Nazirite. For those of you who don't know, a Nazirite is a holy man who can't ever cut their hair, drink alcohol, or have sexual relations. This is relevant because breaking these rules causes his downfall, but that's a spoiler. As I was studying this story, I noticed that the angel only appears to Samson's mother and not his father Manoach. The angel chooses to come to Manoach's wife when Manoah is not around. The angel spells out all these conditions for this baby prophecy to come true, and the woman has to go tell her husband, but Manoach is shocked and doesn't believe her. He asks to speak with the angel himself. This at first seems like a reasonable request. After all, they can't have children, and it's not every day that an angel appears to you. He asks God to please send the angel again to tell them what to do. The angel comes back to speak with them, but purposely appears at a time when Manoach isn't around, so his wife gets to meet the angel alone yet again. But she is a considerate partner, and she goes to tell her husband. This feels like a joke the angel is playing, because the angel could have timed it better. She didn't need this prophecy again. Anyways, Manoach asks the angel to repeat it, and the angel doesn't bother to tell him everything. He says, check in with your wife. This exchange leads me to believe that there is a reason why the angel did not appear to Manoach in the first place. Manoach seems to be a bit stupid. It's not just me who noticed this. The ancient sages back this viewpoint up. The Babylonian Talmud claims that Manoach was an ignorant man who did not even learn Torah, while his spouse was a righteous woman. While Manoach is lacking in knowledge, he is a nice guy. He offers to make the angel dinner, but this is idiotic because angels can't eat food. The angel suggests the couple could offer up a sacrifice straight to God instead. Yet again, Manoah fails. He asks the angel's name so he can honor him, but Manoah asks the wrong thing because the angel won't reveal his name. It is hidden. The angel may be purposely being mean to Manoach, or it could be that, as Rashi, the great Torah scholar, explains, the angel's name constantly changes, so it was a mystery on that day what it was called. What happens next really makes me think that Manoach was not the right person to receive a prophecy. After witnessing the angel disappear in flames of their burnt offering, he says to his wife, "We shall surely die because we have seen God." His wife has to calm him down and tell him, if the Lord wanted to kill us, he would not have accepted our burnt offering and would not have shown us all these things. In other words, grow up. How are you not thinking these things through? So this is probably why the angel told his wife the prophecy in the first place rather than Manoach, because by the end of this chapter, we realize he isn't too smart and needs things spelled out to him. She, however, has common sense. In fact, the sages teach us that Manoach's wife is listed as being among the 23 truly upright women who were ever a part of Israel. The origin story is an example of a smarter woman being the true leader of their household. Actually, the whole tale of Samson shows that women are stronger and smarter than their men. Samson married Delilah, and she tricks him into giving up his strength, his secret that his strength lies in his hair. She cuts it off while he was sleeping and betrays him to the Philistines. Don't worry, though. His hair grows back, and he gets strong enough to pull down the temple where the Philistines were feasting and kills them all, including himself. It turns out that his fatal flaw, a bit like his father, he is not so bright and is too honest and trusting. So the moral of the story is he should have been more like his mother. Shabbat Shalom.
You should remember those words for the rest of your life. Nico is going to lead us in the brachot, and then followed by the text again, which can be found on page 813.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar bin v'im tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Vayehi ish ehad mitzorah mimishpahat hadani ushmo manoach veishto akara velo yalada vayera malach Adonai el haisha vayomer eleha hinena at akara velo yaladet vehari veyaladet ben umora hishamri Ve'ata hishamri na ve'al tishti yain ve'shechar ve'al tochli kol tameh ki hina hara ve'aladet ben umora lo ya'aleh arosho ki nazir Elohim Yihye hanar min habaten vehu yahel vehoshia et Yisrael miad plishtim vatavo haisha vatomer leisha lemor ish ha'elohim ba elai umarehu kemareh malah ha'elohim nor amod velo shiltihu emizehu ve'et shmo lo higid li vayomer li hinahara ve'aladet ben ve'ata al tishti yain ve'shechar ve'al tochli kol tuma ki nazir Elohim yihyeh hanar min habeten ad yom moto Vayatar Manoach El Adonai Vayomar Bi Adonai Ish HaElohim Asher Shalachta Yavona Od Elenu Veyorenu Mana Aseh Lanar Hayulad Vaishamaima HaElohim Bekol Manoach Vayavo malah ha'elohim od el ha'isha vehi yoshevet basadech umanoa isha en ima vatamaher ha'isha vatarot vataged leisha vatomer elav hine nira elai ha'ish Asher bar vayom elai vayakam vayelech manoa ahare ishto vayavo el ha'ish vayomer lo ha'ata ha'ish asher debarta el ha'isha vayomer ani vayomer manoa Ata yavo devarecha ma'yichye mishpat hanar umasehu vayomer malach Adonai el manoah mikol asher amarti el ha'isha tishamer mikol asher yetzeh migefen hayayin lo toha veyayin veshechar al teist ve'ol tum'ah al kol asher tzivitiha tishmor vayomer manoach el malach Adonai natrana ota vana ase lefanecha gedi izim vayomer malach Adonai el manoach im tatzreini lo ochal belach mecha ve'im ta'aseh olah la Adonai te'alena ki lo yada manoach ki malach Adonai hu vayomer manoach el malach Adonai mishemecha ki yavo devarecha vehibanuha vayomer lo malach Adonai lama zeh tishal lishmi vehu peli vayikar manoach et gedi ha'izim ve'et haminha vaya'al al hatzor la Adonai umafli la asot umanoah ve'ishto roim vayehi ba'alot halav me'al hamizbeah hashamayma vaya'al malach Adonai Bele'av hamizbeah umanoah ve'ishto roim Vayiplu al penehem arza. Velo Yasaf od Mala Adonai Lehera'o al Manoah ve'el Ishto Az Yada Manoah Ki Malach Adonai Hu Vayomer Manoah el Ishto Mot Namut Ki Elohim Ra'inu Vatomer Lo Ishto Lo Lu Hafetz Adonai lehamintenu lo laka miadenu ola uminha velo heranu et ko ele veha'eh lo hishmianu kazot vateled ha'isha ben vatigra et shmo shimshon vayigdal hanar vayevarehehu Adonai Vatele Rua Adonai Lefa Amo Ben Mahanadan Ben Sora Uvenesh Ta'o Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam Tzor kol ha'olamim Sadik beho hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer ve'oseh Hamdaber kayem Shechol devorav Emet v'tzedek Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu V'ne'amanim devarecha V'debar echad midvarecha Ahor lo yashuv reikam Ki el mele ne'eman V'rehaman ata Baruch ata Adonai Ha'el ha'ne'eman Bechol devarav Lahem al Tzion Kihi beitayenu Vela aluvat nefesh Toshia bimhera Beyamenu Baruch ata Adonai Mesameach Zion Bevanecha Samheinu Adonai Eloheinu Be'eliyahu Hanavi Avdecha Uvmahut Beit David Meshihecha Bimhera Yavo Vayagel Libenu Oki solo yeshev zar, velo yinhalu od al-herim et kevodo, ki veshem kodsho nishbatalo, shelo yiv benero, leolam va'ed, baruch atah Adonai, Magen David, Al HaTorah, ve'al ha'avodah, ve'al hanvi'im, ve'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh. Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha velimnuha bela havod ultifaret al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim la umvarachim ota befi yitvarashimha befiko haitamid leolam va'ed baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen. Okay, stay here. Okay, so he's going to talk to you. Give me your notebook. Yashapa.
We actually, we usually don't clap in a synagogue, and the reason, I mean, I know what that was. That was just a sign of love, right? So the intention was wonderful. And the reason that we don't do that normally is because this is a religious rite, right? And so what we believe here is that what Nico is doing is that he is embracing a sacred tradition, and that we believe that it's his obligation to engage in this religion. What is actually interesting, Nico, is that it reminds me a little bit about what you were talking about listening to your mom. Because that's what I really think that was all about, your speech, right? Listening to your mom, Nico. And so like in a few years, Nico, this is the argument that I anticipate occurring between you and mom. Nico decides to grow out his hair. And mom is not so pleased with the way Nico's hair is looking. So she says to him, Nico, it's time to get a haircut. And Nico responds But Mom, it's in the Bible. I could be like Samson, a Nazarite vow. And Nico's mom will then say, Joe will say, no, Nico, you learned in your Haftarah, always listen to your mother. So Nico, we want you to listen to your mom. There's other voices that we want to listen to, and that's what I'm going to actually talk to you about, Nico, which is that the Nazarite that Samson was, the guy who did all the abstaining from alcohol and relationships and also from haircuts, the Nazarites are actually throughout, taking a Nazarite vow is something that is actually frowned upon in our tradition. And even the Torah gives hint to this. Because when the Nazarite vow is over, when it's time to get the haircut, because taking a Nazarite vow, you only did it for a certain amount of time. And so after the vow was completed, Nico, it was time to get a haircut, it was time to make a l'chaim, and it was time to re-embrace life as normal. But there's something interesting. In the entryway back to normal life, the Nazarite, according to the Torah, needs to make several offerings. Among the offerings, or the sacrifices that the Nazarite needs to make, is a chatat offering, a sin offering. So the question is, why would a Nazarite, one who has dedicated a period of time to intense religiosity and dedication, why would that person, upon re-entry to normal life, need to make a sin offering? After all, hadn't they just completed holy service? Why a sin offering? One answer could be, Nico, that to make a Nazarite vow, to become like Samson, to enter into that intense religious framework, one needs to separate themselves from society. One needs to disengage in order to directly engage with God. And I believe what the Torah is saying is, that's not the best way. That's not the best way to find God. In fact, there are better ways of finding God in your life. And perhaps the best way of finding God is with relationships with other people. By reaching out to others, we actually reach up. That's something that the Nazarite misses out on. And maybe that's the reason for the sin offering. But Nico, while the Nazarite doesn't understand the importance of the interpersonal connections, Nico, I think that that's something that you get intuitively. Connecting with people is part of your soul. It's part of the essence of who you are as a human being. And Nico, I think that that's what makes your soul so beautiful. I loved hearing from you. I asked you, what was your favorite book? And you know what Nico shared with me? That his favorite book was Tuesdays with Morrie. Tuesdays with Morrie, a celebration of relationship, a celebration of the importance of connecting one person to another. And Nico, it's not just words with you, that's how you live your life. I enjoyed hearing from your mom talking about family friends who have little kids, and they kind of just, all they want to do is to play with you. And Nico, most people your age ignore the little kids. But not you, Nico. You go out of your way to play with them, to make them feel valued, to make them feel appreciated, because you understand, Nico, in your soul, the importance of connecting one person to another. And then, even when we were at the Ark, just a few minutes ago, we were standing there and we were kind of like laughing as your brother was opening and then locking the canter in the Ark. And we were laughing and I was like, hey, he's a good kid, about your brother. And you smiled at me and you said, yeah, he really is. Nico, you are someone who understands the importance of connecting with people, and maybe that's why you've expressed interest in becoming a coach later on in life. I asked you, what could you see yourself doing? And you said, maybe I'll become a coach. And what's a coach? Someone who imparts wisdom to another person. So my advice for you, Nico, today on your bar mitzvah is not only to cut your hair because your mom tells you so. but also to never take a Nazirite vow. And what I mean by that, Nico, is for you never to separate yourself from community. Because, Nico, community is something that you understand oh so well. And when you are part of community, Nico, you bring it blessing. So my hope and prayer for you is that you continue to bring the fullness of your heart and your soul to all that you do, because you, Nico, are certain to be a blessing for the Jewish people and for the entire world. And let us all say, Amen. And now, Nico, as you are blessing us, we're going to now bless you. It's the oldest blessing in our tradition. It's the oldest blessing, and it's actually from this week's Torah portion. It's Birkat Kohanim. You want to do it up there?
Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God continue to guard over you and bless you with love, strength, resilience, and commitment to humanity.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God be gracious to you, allowing you to enjoy many relationships with many people who recognize and celebrate the spark in your soul.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May the path before you, Nico, be a path of light, of blessing, and of peace. And may it bring your life filled with love. And let us all say, Amen.
Mazel tov.
Simin tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simin tov, simin tov, mazel tov,
Mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov. Yehelanu, 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 ulecha Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu, ulecha Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu, ulecha Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu, ulecha Yisrael.
All right, guys, clean up in aisle 3. Let's go. Well, we're going to come over here for a second. You guys clean up. There's one more blessing that we have to make, and that is, here, Nico. We need you too.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll ask mom and dad and grandparents to also stand. Here, come on up. How many candies do you have?
What?
You have a lot of candy. Come share. Come over here. Come down here. 6. So what I want you to do is, here, come get close here. Stand over here. Grandma and Grandpa, come on. Yeah, Nico, stand in the center. You guys come along. We live in a world, and Dad, you alluded to this, where there's been a lot of disconnection, a lot of disengagement, and a lot of loneliness. And I think hopefully one of the lessons we all took out of this is that we celebrate the opportunity to be together. That you can always buy stuff, but you never know how much time you're going to be blessed with. And so really, what we need to do is when we have sacred moments is we need to fully embrace them. And that's what this family is doing before you. That here we are, Nico, together as a family, celebrating all you are poised to do in your life. And that is a blessing. And so when we have a day filled with blessing, with the anticipation of more blessing to follow, that's your bar mitzvah, dude. When we have that, we make a special prayer. It's called the Shehechianu. So put your arms around one another and Nico, stand in the center, kind of make a little family circle over here. Hold one another tight. Here, swing around. And we offer the Shehechianu, in recognition of this special time in your family's life.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
Amen. I have that prayer that you were going to say on the Hebrew. I have it in the book, so you can still do it. Okay. You don't want to do it. Okay. He's good. Okay, he doesn't want to. Okay, that's fine. Okay. We'll invite our family. Speaking of blessings, every country has its challenges, and our country is no exception. Nevertheless, we offer prayers so that we hopefully, as citizens of this country, can help steward our leaders and our government to make good decisions for the betterment of our people. And therefore, with that in mind, let's turn to page 177 and these red books, page 177, towards the bottom of the page, for a prayer for our country. May it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all peoples to dwell in friendship and freedom. Speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. For all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us all say, Amen. In a little over 2 weeks' time, the cantor will be headed to Israel. And in a little over 3 weeks' time, I'll be following in her footsteps and also headed to Israel. And for both of us, I know it's a special trip as it's been since before COVID. We haven't been able to go since COVID. So we are both looking forward to our time in Israel because we appreciate the place of a Jewish homeland in the Jewish community. And therefore, let us offer a bracha, a blessing for Medinat Yisrael, together in the Hebrew on page 178. Together on page 178. Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzor Yisrael v'goalo, Barech et Medinat Yisrael, Reshit Tzmiichat Gulatenu, Hagen aleha be'avrat chastecha, Ufros aleha sukat shlomecha, Ushlach orcha v'amicha l'rashea, Sareya v'yoatzea, V'takneim be'etza tova milfanecha, Chazek et yidei mignei eretz kodshenu, V'hanchilem Eloheinu Yeshua, V'yateret nitzachon ta'atrem, V'natata shalom ba'aretz, V'simchat olam yoshvea, V'nomar. Amen. One of the beautiful things about our celebration is the anticipation of the next celebration. And with that in mind, we invite Shyla, who is next week's bat mitzvah, to come join us. Oh, she's already there, for Ashrei on page 181. Ashrei, page 181.
Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, ojecha lelucha, Selah.
Ashrei ha'am shekach lo, ashrei ha'am sh'Adonai Eloha.
Techilat leDavid, aramimcha Elohai hamelech, va'avarcha shimcha leolam va'ed. Gadol Adonai umechulal me'od, v'lidulato ein cheker. Hadar kevod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha. Zecherav tuvecha yabiu, vitzidkatecha yeranenu. Tov Adonai lakol, verachamav al kol ma'asav. Kevod malchuta yomeru, ugvuratcha yedaberu. Malchutcha malchut kol amim, umemshaltecha bechol dor vador. Eine chole lecha yisaberu, ve'ata noten lachem et ochlam be'ito. Tzadik Adonai bechol derachav, ve'ata sid bechol ma'asav. Ritzon Yereav Ya'aseh, ve'et Shavatam Yishma ve'yoshihem. Tehilat Adonai yedaber pi, vivarech kol basar shem kodsho le'olam va'ed, va'anachnu nevarech ya, ma'ata v'yad olam. Hallelujah.
Please rise as the Sefer Torah is returned to the ark.
Yeah, hallelujah, et Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren leyamo, tila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael, am kirovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Mizmor leDavid, Habul Adonai b'nei Eli, Habul Adonai kavod ba'oz, Habul Adonai kevod shemo, Shachavul Adonai behadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai alamayim el hakavod irim, Adonai amayim rabim, amayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'kovav, Kol Adonai be'adav, Kol Adonai shover arazim, vayishaber Adonai et arzei Avanon, vayarkidem kemo egel, Lebanon veSirion kemo ben re'emim, Kol Adonai chotzev lahavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, vayechesov ye'arot, uvechalo, kulo omer kavod. Adonai lamabud yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz leyamo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo bashalom. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Kol anshama te'aleya, hallelujah. ובנוחו יאמר שובה. עץ חיימי למה חזיק בה נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה חדש חדש ימינו חדש ימינו כקדם.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Just very briefly, I want to refer to a very holy source to begin our discussion today, an episode of Seinfeld. You may remember this one. It's the affectionately known as Pimple Popper MD. Does everyone remember that episode? So Jerry is dating a dermatologist. And Jerry is a little frustrated because people are making a big deal of his new girlfriend, and he doesn't quite understand what's the big deal. So allow me to quote from this very serious source. Jerry says to his doctor, the dermatologist, "How's the life-saving business?" "It's fine." "It must take a really, really big zit to kill a man." "What is with you? You call yourself lifesaver? I call you Pimple Popper MD." And from there, Jerry and his girlfriend, you know what happens, Nico? After you say that to your girlfriend? She's your ex-girlfriend. That whole episode, by the way, so the last laugh is on Jerry because someone then comes up to the doctor and thanks the doctor for curing him of skin cancer. And I thought about that when I'm reading this week's Torah portion, because in this week's Torah portion, amongst the many rules, and we talked about people who live on the periphery of our society, there's this interesting selection which talks about the types of people who need to be sent out from the camp, from the Israelite camp. And amongst those people, there was like 3 levels of the camp, and different people kind of got placed in different parts according to what had happened to them. But let's say if you had got caught with something that at the time was considered a life-threatening disease, some sort of skin impairment, the Torah instructs the people to take action. The Torah instructs the people to social distance and send these people out for a period of time until they can be healthy enough to be brought back in. And when I was reading that, I thought about a famous rabbinic text. Because I thought, like, wait a second. If God wanted these people healed, then why didn't God just make the skin ailment disappear? Why does God require us to intervene in this? In other words, why are someone sent out by us? Shouldn't God just make the rash disappear? And there's this famous sugya, there's this famous teaching in the Gemara, in the Talmud, where there's a discussion, and one rabbi actually holds by that. One rabbi says, you know what? In this world, when someone falls ill, what should we do? We stand back and we pray. But that is not the prevailing rabbinic sentiment. In fact, what happens is that Rabbi Ishmael says, wait a second, that is not acceptable. That's not what we do. God has given us gifts, and God has given us gifts that we should put into action. And so when we see someone fall ill, sure, prayer can help, but so can healing. And so what the Gemara concludes by saying is the following: Reshut l'rofeh l'rapot, that doctors are given the jurisdiction. Doctors are given the room by none other than God to be sources of healing, because our role as human beings is to partner in God with the perfecting of the world. That's why the Torah requires us to act when someone has this ailment. It's why the Torah requires of us to take care of ourselves in times of health crises. And it's why the Torah commands of us to become agents of healing in this world. So with that in mind, I'd like for us not only to think all of the doctors and medical professionals who've done such incredible work over these past 2 years, but for each of us also to take responsibility and to think, how can we be sources of healing? Not necessarily only medical healing, but how can we, as doctors, partner with God? How can we be partners with God as well in bringing healing to the world? Shabbat Shalom. We're going to continue with the Musaf service, which can be found beginning on page 154.
184. 184. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yamad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayachona v'ymechonav chai d'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'galav v'zman kariv v'meru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach. Li'olam li'omei omaya. Yitbarach. Yitbarach. V'yishtabach v'yitfor v'yitrum amin aseh v'yitadar v'yitalav v'yitdalal shmei dekudashah. Brichuli la min kol berachata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran b'yalema v'meru. Amen.
Please rise for the Musaf Amidah. The Musaf Amidah can be found beginning on page 185.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Agadol, Hagibor ve'Anora, El Elyon, Gomel Chatzadim Tovim, Ve'konei Akol, Ve'zocher Chastei Avot ve'imahot, Umevi goel ibnei v'neihem lema'an shemo ve'yahava melech ozer ufoked u'moshia u'magen baruch atah Adonai magen Avraham ufoked Sarah atah gibor le'olam Adonai mechayei metim atah rav lehoshia Mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechayei meitim berachamim rabim, somech noflim berofei cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, melech memit umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua v'nemanat al achayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai mechayei hametim. Na'aritzecha v'na'akdishcha kesod siach sarfei kodesh hamakdishim shimcha b'kodesh kakatuv al yad neviecha v'kara zeh el zeh v'yamar kadosh 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 Adonai tzvaot melech kol haaretz kevodo kvodo malei olam meshartav shoalim zeh lazeh aye mekom kevodo leumatam baruch yomeru baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo hu yifen ברחמים ויחונם המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד פעמיים באהבה שמה אומרים Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Hu Eloheinu, Avinu, Hu Malkeinu, Hu Moshienu, Vehu Yashmienu, Berachamav Shenit, Le'yene kol chai, liot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, uvdivrei kodshecha katuv le'mor, yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohayich Tzion, le'dor v'dor, hallelujah, le'dor v'dor egigod le'echa, u'le'netzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish, V'shivracha Eloheinu mipinu le'amush le'olam va'ed ki el-melech kadosh v'kadosh ata baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh. Tikanta Shabbat v'tzidakot.
When you've concluded your Amidah, you can be seated.
Yikra v'yikra shemei Rabbah, ויאמר דברי חירותיהם לחמחותי בחייכון וימכון חייך בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב ימרו אמן ישמרה במבורך לעולם וליומי עולמיה יתברך יתברך וישתבח ויתפור ויתרומם מן הסייב תדר ותלה ותלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לי אלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בימה וימרו אמן תתקבל צלותון ובאותון תוכו ישראל קודם אבון וישמע וימרו אמן יש שלום רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו וכל ישראל וימרו אמן עושה שלום שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום עושה שלום שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן אין כאלוהינו אין כאדוננו אין כמלכנו אין כמושיענו מי כאלוהינו מי כאדוננו מי כמלכנו מי כמושיענו נודה לאלוהינו נודה לאדוננו נודה למלכנו נודה למושיענו ברוך אלוהינו ברוך אדוננו, ברוך מלכנו, ברוך מושיענו, אתה הוא אלוהינו, אתה הוא אדוננו, אתה הוא מלכנו, אתה הוא מושיענו. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה. שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא שהוא נוטה שמיים ליוצר הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים הוא אלוהינו אין עוד אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו ככתוב בתורתו וידעת היום והשבותה אל לבביך כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד כן לקבל לך אדוני כי לך תיכון כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי תמלוך בכבוד ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
In love, we recall those who no longer walk this earth. We are grateful to God for the gift of their lives and for the cherished memories that never fade. This week, we as a congregational community mourn the passing of Jeffrey Sunderland, the brother-in-law of Hillel Wasserman. And on this Shabbat, we anticipate the yurtzites in the coming week of Charles Baker, Oscar Block, David Braver, Miriam Edelman, Miriam Gross, Pauline Hertz, Alvin Lurie, Fred Rimmerman, Anna Superstein, Raymond Alpert, Peggy Bruin, Dov Grunstein, Tibor Chaim Grunstein, Miklos Grunstein, Pinchas Grunstein, Lieb Grunstein, Yehudit Grunstein, Chaya Sarah Grunstein, Devorah Grunstein, Mordechai Grunstein, Sigmund Grunstein, Herschel Grunstein, Jacques Rubenstein, Fanny Albertinsky, Tova Dershowitz, Julius Fligelman, Jordan Grinker, Razi Khorshid, Ida Mockler, Hertz Sahlberg, Faye Deichman, Francis Gottesman, Uziel Monje, Anna Turbov, Andrea Wynn, Morris Sperling, Esther Blank, Sophie Lewin, Aaron Stefanowitz, Max Berman, Sarah Fine, Michael Salkin, Evelyn Weisberg, and Dorothy Zimmerman. Is there anyone else observing a yahrzeit for someone I failed to mention? We'd like to ask those of you who are in mourning or observing a yahrzeit to please rise as we sanctify God's name with the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 207. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba bi'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon u'v'yomeyachon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'elam al maya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha barechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram b'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. And may the memories of our loved ones be a source of comfort and blessing, and let us all say amen. It's now my very pleasure to call upon our congregational president, Lena LeBeau, for some words of gratitude.
Shabbat Shalom. Mazel Tov to Nico Herschko, who in honor of his bar mitzvah. Today's Kiddush lunch is graciously sponsored by the Herschko family. Thank you to all who participated in our services this morning. Darshan, Rabbi Brian Schuldenfrei. Torah readers, Nico Herschko, Bennett Spiegel, and Ben Jaffe. Haftarah, Nico Herschko. Aliyah coordinator, Mel Aronoff. Gabayim, Gary Spivak, and Dr. Mark Bressler. Ashrei, Sheila Furstenberg. Two quick announcements. Our annual meeting is this Monday, June 13th at 7:30 p.m. If you have not done so already, please vote on the proposed 2022-23 Board of Directors slate and bylaw changes. After voting, we invite you to attend the Adat meeting on Monday at 7:30. Dinner and the meeting will happen simultaneously, which is my understanding, and if 7:30 is late, have some hummus and veggies before you come. Naranana has been moved from June 17th to June 24th at 6 o'clock. Join us as we, during our fun and lively Naranana celebration, as we thank Rabbi Jessica Yarkin for her years of service to our community. Naranana will begin at 6 p.m., followed by dinner, and your RSVP is requested. Following dinner, we will have dessert and a taste of the oneg. More information to follow. Stay cool today, and Shabbat Shalom.
I just want to wish a happy birthday to Mel. And I also want to say you don't have to RSVP to the Naranana service, just if you want to stay for dinner.
Absolutely. Okay, and we'd like to RSVP for Nico to come join us on the
Are you RSVPing yes? Come on
yes,
up.
he is. And mom and dad are coming too, as well as your brother. Jaxie, come on up. And we are going to continue with Adon Olam, followed by Kiddush and Motzi.
Page 211. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'et nasa b'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra v'acharei kichot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'u haya ve'u over Ve'u yiyeh b'tifara, ve'u yiyeh b'tifara, ve'u echad, v'en sheni leham shilo, le'achbira, ve'li reshit, ve'li tachlit, ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra, ve'lo ha'oz ve'hamisra, Ve'hu eli, ve'chai ko'ali, ve'tzor chavli, bi'etzara, ve'hu nisi u'manos li, Menat kosi b'yom ekra, menat kosi b'yom ekra, b'yado avkid ruchi b'yet ishan v'yayira v'im ruchi keviati Adonai li velo ira Adonai li velo ira.
Please rise. Al Kim Berach Adonai Yom Shabbat V'Yakad Shehu Savri.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagaf.
Amen. Down the hatch. Okay, now I'm going to hold it. You, Dad, hold this. Mom, take this. Over one hand, 3 times. 4. 3. On the other hand, 3 times. And Dad, hold your hands out. 1, 2, 3. The other hand. 1, 2, 3. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Just like down here. Have some follow. This nice lady over here is waiting for some Nasso. Take a little bit. You did a great job. Give some to Nico. Take a little bit. Mazel tov. Very cool.
Nico.
Great. Where did they go? Thank you very much. I'll take it. Thank you very much.
I want to make 2 corrections for. One is that it should be the 7th Aliyah stress rather than the 7th inning stress. And De Toledo and Milton would have mighty football teams, but they have to forfeit all the games because they're on Friday nights. That's why they don't have a team.
Just wanted to say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbos. Didn't get away? Thank you. Thank you very much.
You sit right there.